And remember, this stock began rallying yesterday after President Trump said that he would unveil a, quote, phenomenal tax plan. Joining us now is former Congressman Ron Paul, Republican from Texas. Congressman, you must be loving what you're hearing on these tax cuts.
Oh, that is wonderful. I love tax cuts. I wish I could believe the whole story, though, that, you know, perfection is on the doorstep. Because, you know, there's one thing that they have adopted in Washington, mainly instigated by liberals, but conservatives are starting to accept this. You have to pay for it, which is absurd. You know, if you and I get, you know, $100 back, we've taken something from the government, and we owe it to the government. They have to go and take it from someplace else, and that's bad. So my argument is that all spending is a tax, one way or the other, direct taxes, inflation taxes, borrowing taxes, government grows. A true tax cut has to cut some spending eventually. But obviously the market is agreeing, they love it. I would certainly vote for it. I'd want the biggest tax cut ever. But believe me, I would keep emphasizing it won't work unless you cut some spending. You just can't spend endlessly and think that you can just print the money and let the Fed run wild and say, well, you know, the Fed and Congress always got along well. The Congress, they do well when they spend money and the Fed accommodates and they monetize the debt. And there's where our problems are.
Well, you know what? We've had this ticking time bomb for so long and it hasn't gone off. A lot of people think that, you know, folks like you just, you know, blowing smoke. You know, listen, because right now, listen, I'm not disagreeing with you, but we're not going to get the spending cuts you want because the president's already said he's not going to go after entitlements, and we're going to increase defense spending. So even though we're going to get better deals like the Lockheed Martin situation, so there's not going to be a solution. Could it be just supply side orthodoxy? Could that come to the rescue? People keeping more of what they earn and velocity of money in society.
Well, maybe it depends on all the conditions, but you know, the money that they take from us is going to damage the economy, and that is the problem. And right now, the plan is to spend more money and cut the taxes. So we should cut the taxes. But you say that we've been preaching this message for a long time. Yeah, I started preaching it in 1971 when gold was $35 an ounce. I said, you print too much money, you're going to have a problem. And we've had recessions and depressions and NASDAQ bubbles and housing bubbles burst. And right now, look at the PE ratios. Nobody even talks about the PE ratios, and I'm not a trader in stocks. Right. It looks like PE ratios are getting pretty big, but you don't hear that. So, yes, it comes to an end. People say, well, you know, you can't just say that you have to have honest money like gold. But what if somebody started buying gold when it was $100 an ounce? They've had pretty good protection, you know, from the onslaught.
We agree. You and I both agree it's a great store of value. By the same token, someone may say, despite all of those things that you talked about, here we are today at an all-time high across the board. I do want to ask you one more thing because you are the libertarian, you know, that everyone looks up to. And I want your idea of the President Trump saying, hey, we'll kill 2 regulations for every new one. Because I think that could be sort of a gimmick by Congress. And also, his use of executive orders right now, is that a big government thing?
Oh, that's great. The thing of it is, if you were a strict constitutionalist, you would say the executive branch has no right to write laws, and regulations are laws. So I don't even accept that notion. You should just be cutting regulations. But Congress never seems to get around to that. But if you can't have your whole pie, you can say, well, yeah, if they write a new one, we'll cut 2. I think that's great. Mises always taught that every time the Congress does something to solve a problem, they create 2 new problems. Yeah. So in a way, that would be reversing that trend. You know, you cut one, you give one new regulation and cut 2, it would be in the right directions. I certainly would support that.
Let's just make sure they don't game the system and give us a $10 billion regulation and take away 2 $10 million regulations. Ron Paul, thank you very much. Appreciate it always.